What was the event in the early 80s when you were running out of money? You had a one-off show, you came back.
Well,
what was that?
That was WOMAD, which was, again, full of naive idealism and not too much practical wisdom. I gathered a group of people to put on a festival, to celebrate all these fantastic musicians. It was art and dancers, film from around the world that wasn't getting exposure. And absolutely brilliant event, but a disaster in the box office. And I was getting sort of death threats on the phone because we couldn't pay the bills. And I think Tony then very kindly talked to the band and said, look, maybe if we could get everyone together and with Peter, we can raise some money and help him pay off, because the debts were beyond what I was capable of paying at that time. And they very generously agreed to do this one-off thing. And it was stuck in between a bit of touring, so we didn't really get the chance to rehearse properly. And
Hammersmith Odeon.
Is that right?
Yeah, no, it was the middle of that.
Yeah, we did a 5-night run, I think, Hammersmith, and you came down in the afternoons.
So I think it was a bit rough and ready, and it was pissing down. So the audience, very devoted fans, some of whom come from sort of Argentina, America, Soviet countries, to see this thing, and it was emotionally, it felt
fantastic.
Yeah, it was very nice, and I think we all quite enjoyed it. But I think musically, it didn't deliver in quite the same way that we'd imagined it would.
But it was the gesture, wasn't it? It was.
Well, I think the other thing, I remember at the time we were quite keen not to film it because we thought it was going to be a little bit rough and ready, but actually, on reflection, we should have done what's all. Who really cared? We were being a bit like.
We might be quite glad we didn't.
No, I don't think so. It's just. It's like homelessness.
I remember it being pretty. Some of it being very few. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was always the one who objected to the idea of filming things because I was obsessed with trying to get it right for film. And in fact, when we did some in Strat days at Shepperton, that was on a very specific proviso that if we weren't happy and if I wasn't happy, the thing would be destroyed. And of course I wasn't happy, and it was never destroyed.
I mean, it's difficult for people to understand, probably now, put it into perspective. I mean, there was no mobile phones. And, now it'll be on YouTube. I was about to catch myself and say, isn't it on YouTube? But of course there was no way of, people won't be doing this. So it's really just, the odd photograph. And
well, the moment you stepped out of the coffin, picture of that.
That set the tone. Really.
Yes.
What brought that up there?
Well, actually, as it was an idea, Screaming Jay Hawkins used to arrive on stage in a coffin, so that he should get the credit. But I just thought, if we're doing this thing, we might as well ham it up a little and have some fun. So I was just enjoying myself, really.
My memory of it actually was you trying to play the drums on Turn It On Again.
Is that right?
Yeah, I'm not even realised that it's got an extra beat every third bar or something, so you're doing this, what? Guys. Because it doesn't sound unnatural, it sounds perfectly normal, but actually he's trying to play along.
It's also the anniversary, one of Tony Smith's managerial anniversaries.
My birthday.
Was it Milton Keynes?
Was it?
October the 2nd,
Keynes,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that we had, because when it rains anywhere, but when it rains in England and you're playing, it's terribly depressing. You get this sort of mist, and it's like everything's slightly damp on stage, even though you're covered. And it kind of, the whole thing was a bit like that. I wish it had been a sunny day and we could all have enjoyed it. But,
Yeah, in October, it was not warm.
Yeah. That's the Genesis open air. Let's have it in October.
Why was it in? Or was it cash flow? Was it money?
It was just because
we got shot.
we could get more bums on seats and raise more money. And then the bloody liquidators forged one of the WOMAD directors' signature to try and get their 10% commission out of the proceeds from that concert. It made me livid.
Did they get it?
No, but you remember that? It's extraordinary.
Oh, there we go. Honestly.
If you are, I can take it.
Can't get us, everybody.
Oh, we can just about. Okay.
Let's get on.
Okay.
Right.
Back here again.
Where's that photograph? I remember the moment it was taken, but
All the way for me, mate. Good.